from that last time that you were clean, like what happened to send you back over the edge?
I mean, Chad, I don't fully know your recovery story. I know I can only speak on mine. Is that like, when I got clean the first time, which was right as we were finishing Paranormal State, like it was this jarring experience. So I kind of just cold turkeyed it, and things were good for like 6 months. But then it popped back up again. And the next thing you know, like, and this is after Paranormal State was done, I found myself once again doing pills. And I remember, again, getting off of them. And then came Adderall and Ativan, that mix. And then
What is that? I didn't know anything about this. What is that mix? What does that mix
so
do?
Adderall, it's an ADHD medication, but it's like an amphetamine. And so like at first it was like, oh man, this makes me, focus, gives me energy. But then I would start popping it and staying up for days. Like I was like staying up for days. Um,
So it's like meth or coke.
yeah, and not that I knew any of this. I've never done anything other than weed. Then of course, then it was pills, and then now it was this,
Right.
and then it was like this bomb inside of me went off where like I just you know like things were falling apart in my life, and I mean and by my own hand, but a lot of it also was too, it was just like realizing that like I wasn't okay. And instead of trying to focus on that, it was let's just self-medicate. And so I went to LA and got introduced to meth. I'm not, and there's some parts of the story maybe one day I'll share, but not that I'm lying about any of this, but like some things are just a little deeply personal. Um, but I got introduced to meth, and it was it was like this very weird sensation. I, of course, I remember just staying up for days on it. And then I just went all in. I just was like, fuck it. I'm going to try do everything. And I was so defeated. Like, I didn't, I know this is going to sound so dramatic, but like, I didn't want to live anymore. I just didn't care. And so I,
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you. I mean to stop your story right now because I think that feeling you just said, you said this to me once before. The last time that I saw you or the time before in LA when you were here, you and Laura had a conversation about you having cancer. And she's my wife, she had just lost her mom to cancer. And I watched Laura cry and I watched her hug you. And to my vision, this was an authentic moment between both of you. And you sold me because I ended up getting in arguments with people going, listen, I understand that Ryan is in a place where he's lying about tons of shit, but I can't imagine that he would lie about that. He didn't have to Laura. I mean, and that's not a lie you can come back from. You either make yourself die of pancreatic cancer or you don't tell the lie. I mean, I couldn't process that was a lie. And I had gotten in huge like arguments with people about this, going, there's no fucking way he's lying about that. And then I don't know, I just had a moment of clarity one day where I'm just like, He's absolutely fucking lying about that. Why, Ryan? That's the question I think anybody has is why there? Like, why did you choose that and say that? Because to clear things up, you didn't have
No,
cancer.
no, never did.
Why did you choose that?
Look, I have nothing to hold back about this at this point. You know, like, I don't ever remember sitting down and saying, let me come up with some story. It was just, I don't have any memory of that. All I remember was saying it, but I think I said it because it's how I felt. Like, I think that I just wanted to die. And so instead of telling people that, hey, I'm going to kill myself with drugs, it was like a metaphor of like, I know this is going to kill me. Um, and so it was like a way of, as fucked up as it sounds. I'm not trying to be like, hey, this makes this okay. But it was like a metaphor of like what was happening anyways. Like I had every intention of dying anyways. So, um, I don't know. Like I've asked myself, like, why, what was I going to plan to do? Be like, I've miraculously survived pancreatic cancer. It's a Christmas miracle. Like there was none of that. There was no other side to it. It was always going to end with me dying. Um, and so I believed that I was not going to come back from LA. 1,000%. I was doing heroin, coke, everything. I was doing it all at once. I mean, it was just, and so, yeah.
Had I not seen you at that time, I wouldn't believe this story you're telling me right now. But I did see you, and my genuine thought, I didn't know. At the moment, I didn't believe. I thought you did have cancer, and I thought you were just trying to kill yourself early. That's what I thought. I thought he has cancer, and he's just saying, "Fuck it, I'm just going out on fire." It's that old line: "It's better to burn out than to fade away." And you know, George, my buddy George, who's not with us anymore, God rest his soul, he had some connections in dark places. And you were running into people that he knows throughout that thing. And I finally had to tell him, like, George, I can't hear these stories anymore, dude. Because I'm so fucking mad at this kid right now, and I genuinely care about him. And it was weird because like everybody wanted me to just tear you apart. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how, especially when I've never, look, I didn't make the decisions you made, but I've been the victim of this demon of addiction. And I know what it does to otherwise quality people. And it's not like when I met Ryan Buell, he was this monster of a human being. But I didn't know if that guy was dead or not. I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know if I would ever see you again. I didn't know. And my honest to God feeling was, well, if I don't ever see him again, I don't want my last time I speak about him or to talk about him or to remember him or anything to be like this big bash session. If I'm never going to see him again, like anybody who passes that you care about, you want to think of the good times. You want to think of the good memories that you had. And we had a million of them. And this is all the things that like people they don't know. We live in this world with social media where people think they know shit because they saw you on a reality show. They don't know anything about your life, your personality, what you're dealing with. And that doesn't mean that there weren't, man, believe me, you left a army of people pissed off that were all supporters behind you that wanted to see you at a tour and all this stuff. And I don't got to tell you this, at least I hope not. They were all justified for feeling the way they felt. And I understood that they were all justified. But I knew too much. I knew that I knew he's probably not going to live, man. You guys all are so angry at him, and you have every right to be. I'm talking about the public now, your fans. You have every right to be. Nobody would say you don't. Hey, of course you do. But, and I just didn't, I was like, he shouldn't die. He needs help, and then he needs to make his wrongs right again and start the process of rebuilding. And that is what has to happen. And I so badly wanted to reach out to you at that time and just be like, dude, like enough is enough, man. Just stop because I'm going to bury you. I could see where this is going. Like, I'm really, really going to fucking see you die. And I just know that feeling that you're talking about of wanting to die. So when I talked about doing this with you, it wasn't so I could drum up, support for you or to make you look good or look bad or look anyway. It was just like I just want like anything else, I want people to see the truth in these things. Because the truth that nobody wants to believe or look at is that could be you. Trust me, Ryan, nobody in my lifetime before I had my battles, no one would have told you, oh, Chad Kaler's going to battle with addiction one day. Nobody would have guessed that. I used to make rock bands that I managed sign contracts stating they wouldn't smoke weed. I'm sure nobody would have met you as a young guy and said this is going to happen to him.
Yeah.
But it can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone. And I just don't want to live in a world where if it happens to you, you're just fucked forever. Everyone should have to pay for what they do, but it shouldn't have to be that forever you have to pay a penance. Because that can never, ever, be restored. Not restored. I don't believe that. And I just wanted people to really know where your head's at and like what was going on. The next thing I started hearing is I don't even know what happened. So maybe you can explain this to me. Did you steal some car or some shit?
Uh,
I started hearing crazy
yeah.
stuff, dude.
Well, that makes sense. I was doing crazy things. I mean, it got to a point where, I mean, at first it was like, yeah, I'm in LA, I'm doing this, and I was this tornado and of just chaos and anger and everything. And it got to a point where, I was homeless and then I would be quote unquote clean for a time and then bam, here we go again. Each time I fell deeper and deeper. I eventually, it was like 2015, I like went super all in where like I was hanging out with other addicts. I was dating one. Whereas I didn't have to hide it anymore. It was like me and this guy were, we were getting fucked up together. And stupid things that you hear addicts do. Like, yeah, I rented a car and I was gonna go home to visit my family down south. I just moved out of my house and put stuff in storage, and I was like, I'll figure that out later. I'll come back in a few weeks and find another place. because my lease had ended. And so took a car with, at the time, this guy I was with, and what should have been like a 10-hour car ride took 4 days to get down there. We got kicked out of hotels along the way. I mean, we were awful. Even other addicts would steer clear from us. It was volatile. So my mom, who was desperate to like, she, again, of course, I'm like you, when I went to, see you in LA, I gave some stupid ass bullshit story. I'm telling mom, no, I'm clean. I'm just really tired. And I sat on her couch to talk to her, and I thought I was great. I thought I looked good, but apparently I'd fallen asleep like 8 times in the middle of me talking. Me and this guy, she put us up in a lake, in a friend's lake house, that was in between leases. Well, we almost burned the place down, got kicked out of there. So, here we are just hopping around hotels, and we didn't want to leave yet because we would run out of drugs. And so we had to stay an extra couple days because we get drugs and, oh, yay, fun. And then we're out again. And so it was like this insanity cycle. And lo and behold, at this point, what was supposed to be a couple weeks trip ended up being like, I don't know, 2 months. And so, renting the car at like end of July. Now here it was September. And of course, shocker, not paying the bill didn't even cross my mind. My phone had gotten shut off, so I wasn't getting any phone calls. So anyways, we were in this hotel that was known for being a drug hotel, and we had just found enough money to book some Airbnb in Hilton Head. And we're like, oh, well, we'll have one last hurrah before we go up. We get a knock on the door.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And we get a knock on the door, and it was a guy going, hey, is Ryan here? And we thought, when I heard it, I just thought like, oh, it was one of our druggy buddies. Okay, whatever. And so my, now ex, boyfriend at the time, he opened the door, and the guy sees me and goes, you're under arrest. I was like, for what? And he said that my car was registered as stolen. And so, it was, odd, because I'm like, well, I didn't steal it. And once the sheriff knew that I had a rental agreement, he was like, oh, he's like, well, we don't have anything for that type of charge down here. However, it didn't matter. He was holding me for PA, and there was a charge for me in PA, and they got back very quickly. Because he was like, if I don't hear back in 10 minutes, I'm letting this guy go. So it was a long ass 10 minutes, man. I was like sitting there waiting, and then sure enough, they were like, we want him. And so got thrown in jail. They impounded the car. So I suddenly found myself in the slammer in the deep South, not in a city. So this was like, it was like a Florence, South Carolina jail, and it was scary, man.
Hey, what's up? This is Chad Kalick. I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode segment of the In a Crowded Room podcast. If you enjoyed it and you would like to listen to this episode in its entirety, I've posted the link to the full episode in the description box below. As always, thank you for supporting the In a Crowded Room podcast. Much love and all the best.